Thank you so much for taking a few minutes of your day to learn a little bit more about micro-internships. My name is Kristen Schrader, and it's my privilege to lead the partnerships team here at Parker Dewey. You'll hear more about Parker Dewey in just a moment, but my role on the team is to primarily work with our college and university partners. Some of you may have heard about this webinar from one of those partners, so if so, again, love to hear about that, and you can certainly mention it in the chat, even if you just send it to the host or panelist. But again, my role, I get to hear directly from both the schools and the students about some of the challenges that are being faced, particularly dynamic time in higher ed right now. But my background is also in human resources, where my career started in doing college recruiting, amongst other things, in the HR space. So any of you who are in an HR role or who have hired folks, maybe you're hiring right now, real excited to have you join us to hear how micro-internships can be a valuable resource for you in hiring early career talent. So while we are getting started, I do have one quick question, because I'd love to understand a little bit more about who's joining us today. So I'm going to go ahead and launch a one question poll and take a breath here just to give you a chance to answer this. Real quick and easy question. What hiring challenge or challenges are you trying to solve right now? It's multiple choice. Choose as few or many of these as might be relevant. And if you're just joining us, got a quick question, one question poll, because I'd love to understand a little bit more about who's joining us today and some of your unique challenges. So what hiring challenge are you trying to solve right now? It looks like quite a few of you have something to say about an open role right now. And some of you are also saying that growing student awareness and employer brand, that students don't know who your company is. And that, again, is something that I see. It's definitely one of the most popular answers to this whenever I do these conversations. But again, I know there's some of you may have not had a chance. We will be circling back to this list later on in the webinar. So I'll go ahead and leave this open in case you're still thinking about how you want to answer, or if we have some late arrivals. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we dig into the content. Yes, we're recording today's conversation. We'll send you the recording and slides afterwards. But please go ahead if you have questions. You can answer those or send them in the chat. I'll do my best to answer them as close to real time. So that you understand the overall format of today's conversation, we're going to start at a rather high level, more strategic, about what a micro-internship is, but also how it might help with your early career recruiting strategy. We'll talk high level, and then there will be a chance kind of midway through the webinar where if you have somewhere else you need to be and or get done, we'll have kind of that leap off point where there'll be a couple of suggested next steps if you do want to have additional conversations or a couple of action items. But then if you do want to stick around for part B of the conversation, that will be more about the tactical, how you can get started, how do you actually post these micro-internships. But again, we're talking big picture first, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. So bear with me as we kind of go through, again, just a broad overview of what micro-internships are and where it might fit into some of your overall recruiting initiatives. So first of all, I want to talk just a bit about our organization, Parker Dewey. And you may have noticed our logo is a Venn diagram for a very specific reason. We have three primary stakeholders: students, colleges and university partners, or organizations who are supporting colleges and universities. They might be a nonprofit and so on. And then you, organizations who are wanting to hire early career talent. And our platform at the core is a hiring tool that's designed to help you access, engage, assess, and ultimately hire early career talent. Whether that is for a short-term project, maybe that's all that you have in mind, some sort of pressing item on the to-do list. But hopefully what you'll also see is how this can be advantageous if, in the little poll question I just asked you, you are hiring for a longer-term engagement. because there's a lot of talk right now around skills-based hiring and how do I really ascertain whether or not a student can do the job. This model is a very cost-effective, low-risk way for both you and the student to see if this is a good fit. Now, our method of connecting you and students is what we call a micro-internship. We defined the phrase and came up with the idea about 10 years ago, but these are designed to be short-term, paid professional projects designed for the early career stage of one's professional journey. Now, let me talk about early career. Who are these micro-interns that we have on our platform? Well, primarily they're going to be current college and university students attending US-based institutions nationwide. They might be from a 4-year large institution. They might be from a 2-year community college, a private institution, full spectrum. But we also have a lot of students who are taking non-traditional approaches to higher education. They may, for instance, have had other careers doing other things and be pursuing a certificate program, a graduate degree, another undergraduate degree, a lot of a boot camp training program, a number of different other ways that folks are trying to maybe relaunch or pivot in their career. But these are designed, again, to be early career, might be their second or third career, but again, largely for early career talent. Now, why is early career recruiting our big focus? Well, frankly, as we all can attest, if we've hired in this space, it's hard. Having gone to career fairs myself as a recruiter and also a student in leading career fairs, it is really hard recruiting for students. They all look about the same on paper. If they've gone to career services, chances are their resumes look pretty good, and you can easily tell those who haven't. But it's also really expensive. It's not easy to scale, and it really doesn't allow the students to show what all they can do. Those career fair conversations are very quick. It can be easy if you're like me to jumble one student from another in your head. And frankly, many students just aren't able to participate in these career fairs. And what does that mean for you? Well, it can lead to hires that just don't work out for a variety of reasons, or the students that you just never reached in the first place because they didn't come to the events or didn't apply to your posting because they just didn't think of it or see it or think that or an organization like yours was going to be a good fit. And the statistics really illustrate that story better than anything I could say. 35 to 45% turnover in the first year, according to what we're hearing from students. This is not how they want to engage with you. The cost per hire continues to rise, according to the National Association of Colleges and Employers. And so our mission is to de-risk that hiring process and make it more effective for both you and the student. And no matter where you are in your hiring strategy, micro-internships can plug in seamlessly and to supplement any of these other initiatives that you already have going on. In other words, we're not asking or thinking or wanting you to replace what you're doing with your target institutions. This is not designed to replace career fairs, but to help you tap into the talent that you're not reaching at those events, to reach the students that, again, you're not meeting at, whether it's a target school or at the schools that just aren't on your radar for whatever reason. And so even if, like many of you answered, that growing student awareness in your brand, that students don't know who you are, this can help address that. And I'll explain a case study of how companies are doing that. Maybe you're struggling with deciding, does the student have the right skills for what I'm looking for? Well, by seeing a work sample, you'll be able to discern whether or not they both have the technical as well as those core skills, those soft skills that we all are looking for. It's a way to keep them engaged. Maybe you already have all of your internships and full-time slots filled. Congratulations. And being that it's early April, I would imagine many of you are probably in a position like that. But how do you make sure that those students don't rescind on their, decide to renege on their offers if another one comes up? Keeping them engaged is a critical part of that, and micro-internships can help. Or maybe you have a last-minute request. Some hiring manager came into your office and said, I need to find this person now. Again, this can help with those last-minute on-demand pipeline of students that are excited about working with your organization. So let me take a step back, though, and just define micro-internships in a bit more detail. So how we define it is that these are short-term, paid professional projects. They're designed to be completed on demand by early career talent. Now, these are project-based experiences, so the focus here is on a deliverable. What thing do you need the student to do? This is not designed to replace an internship, a full-time job, and in fact, the fastest way for a project or a posting on Parker Dewey to be sent back here for more clarification is if folks copy and paste your full-time job or internships. We have a team that's viewing these projects and everything posted on our platform, and we'll happily help you with scoping out how your full-time job or internship could be unbundled into discrete projects, because that's what these are. These are designed to be short-term engagements, generally taking between 10 and 40 hours of work by the student in total. A 10-hour project might be completed for a student over a couple of days. Maybe it's something they power through over a weekend. But typically a 10-hour project stretches into maybe a week or two, maybe a little bit longer than that. Now, a 40-hour project, again, generally not something that's done Monday through Friday, because keep in mind, these are students and they probably have a lot of other things on their plate. So a 40-hour project might be completed over several weeks, maybe a couple of months, but you set that timeline. And the student sees that when they're applying for your opportunity so that they can self-select whether they're available, and they can decide if they are, then to go ahead and apply. These are also designed to be something that no matter what you have going on, this is on demand. You can post, you don't have to wait until you have your summer interns this May and June. You can post an opportunity that you have on your to-do list right now. But you also have this opportunity to engage students year-round so that you have your summer cohort of interns, great. Keep them engaged all throughout their junior or senior year after they've interned at your company so that they're excited about the prospect of joining your team for that full-time role that you know you want to offer them. And the key thing here is to make this easy for you. And our big method of doing so is that we handle all of the administration of these projects. The students are on our books. We handle the payment to the student so you don't have to. Now, the students are paid a fixed fee for every one of these engagements. We recommend to budget around $20 per estimated hour of work. However, the students aren't turning in timesheets. This is something that, whether it takes them 20 hours, 19, 21, or whatever, they're paid the same amount. And so again, you set that price to make it simple for everybody. And the last thing to keep in mind is that these are designed to be professional projects. So this isn't babysit my kids, walk my dog. This is designed for those projects that you would have an intern do if you had an intern to delegate that project to right now. And again, through working together, you can assess a whole bunch of really, really great attributes. And then for those of you who do have those open roles that you're trying to fill, this can help you not only see if the student can do the technical part of the job, but also decide if they have those core skills. So for instance, one of the things that we do as a team here at Parker Dewey is we help you identify projects that align to those open full-time roles and internships. In this particular example, let's say your open role is for a data marketer position. Well, send us that job description and we will help you identify projects that we've seen time and time again on Parker Dewey that students do a great job at, but that also align to the skills that you're looking for in that position. For example, a system gathering, analyzing, and reporting marketing data, great. What's a project that can help you as a hiring manager decide if a student can do that? How about a data cleanup and visualization project? We have the templates for that. It makes it real easy for you to get that project up and running. And you not only get some data cleaned up and maybe a student creates an infographic or something for you, great. But you also can discern, well, does the student have attention to detail? Are they able to put together and clean and really accomplish this task? Is it accurate and so on? And so not only are you discerning all of their core skills, there's technical skills, but also all of these other attributes that we all need, no matter what role we're recruiting for. This really helps you see that. So just by simply applying, for example, you know that the student is interested in your organization. Otherwise, they wouldn't have applied. Nobody forces a student to apply to a project on Parker Dewey. They all opt in. But you also know that they take initiative. They're a self-starter. They took that extra step to differentiate themselves. By working together on those projects, You know how effectively do they communicate? Do they ask good questions? Do they take feedback well? If you told them, hey, you need to fix this, how did that go? Did they turn the work in on time or did they miss the deadline? Those are all critical things that we desperately need for our future coworkers and that these micro-internships can help sort out before you make that longer term investment of deciding to hire them for that internship or full-time role. And then of course, the work product itself speaks volumes about the student's fit. As you can see, did they not only do the work and do it comprehensively, but is it edited? Does it have typos and all those other things? It again makes a big difference. And we know that this works because its students have told us that this is how they want to be recruited. We survey the students every year to ask them that question. How do you want to engage with employers? How do you want to be recruited? And they've said that not only do they start early in their academic journey, 75% saying that, yep, within their freshman or sophomore year, they're already excited about exploring their career journey. But also 71% have said the traditional recruiting methods do not, in their opinion, help them to demonstrate what all they can bring to your organization. 95% have said, though, that they really want to do these projects. But then we also hear from companies that this is exactly how it makes it easy for them to tap into untapped talent. Because in one platform, you can access students across thousands of academic institutions and programs, including students from historically underrepresented backgrounds. We are really proud of the fact that Parker Dewey Micro-Internships are creating opportunities for students from all backgrounds. And 80% of the students selected have self-disclosed that they do come from historically underrepresented backgrounds. And that's not only that, that's wonderful, but that's who's getting picked. And so that's something that, again, these students not only are excited to do these, they're also doing a really great job. 97% have met or exceeded the expectations of their project supervisor. And then those who are using this as a hiring tool, we're seeing that 98% of the students who completed micro-internships stay in their first job after college for at least a year or more, which again, hands over is really impactful when it comes to retention metrics and of course the bottom line. Which leads me to some good news that I want to share, is that if you would like to pilot micro-internships, you can do so at no cost, thanks to a program that we have that we bundled under this umbrella called Gigs for Good. What is this? Well, essentially, we have had a number of entities, some of which are pictured at the bottom of the screen, who really believe in this model, who really are passionate, just like we are, about creating equitable access for students to go from college to career, and are essentially funding micro-internships for populations of students and for employers to work with these students at no cost to those organizations. So through these different programs, you can have access to a paid micro-internship for your organization for these eligible students, and again, at no cost to your organization. And so this allows you, again, test drive this at scale. You can work with multiple students on multiple different projects, or have one student work on, or have multiple students work on one single project, so you can really see who's a good fit for that particular role. And so through what we call our free trial, you can have access to up to 5 micro-internships at no cost to your organization, as well as access to some early career recruiting data and metrics, some of which are featured on in screenshot on the slide. But things like being able to see where your applicants to your projects coming from geographically. That might help you decide what career fairs you may want to target for next year. You can identify the demographics of the student, who's applied and who is selected. Does that align with some of your goals around creating equitable access to opportunities? You can get feedback on the student's performance so that you, if you work in human resources, can see what your hiring managers, what your colleagues have said about the student's performance. And then that top screenshot, that illustrates a list of all the applicants to your projects so that you have that on-demand at the ready, or pipeline at the ready of students who you know want to work with your organization because they applied to one of your projects. And so this is something that will be interesting. And again, it's a free trial, 60-day access to that candidate engagement platform. got a link that you can just basically the way that this starts is for you to let us know what you're recruiting for. And those of you who answered in that whole question that you have open entry level or internship roles right now, this is a good starting place for you. Let us know what that role is, the job description, the key skills, and then we can help you identify those projects and get you enrolled in this free trial. And again, it doesn't cost you anything to begin to engage and test out this micro-internship concept. I'll also put this link, which is an opportunity to just talk to a member of our team, not myself, but another colleagues that speak to companies day in and day out to be able to understand a little bit more about your recruiting goals and some of those initiatives. So I'll put those links in the chat. Happy to answer any questions that are top of mind, but this is also, as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, your jumping off point. So if you'd love to hear a little bit more, how do I actually get posting a project? Great, that's the next thing I'm going to talk about. If you have what you're looking for and want to just proceed with some of these links, awesome. Thank you for joining us. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to how to post a project for those of you who want to stick around. All right, so posting a project, real quick and easy, 3 simple steps. Post that project, select who you want to work with, and the work gets done. Now, why is it so easy? Well, internally here at Parker Dewey, we joke that Parker Dewey, everything we do has to be Jeff-proof. Who's Jeff? Our CEO, who gets very impatient for anything that is going to cause friction. And so we always have to make sure things are Jeffrey-proof, and we make sure, again, we have supports all along the way so that things are very easy for you. Tangibly, for posting a project, for instance, we have a bunch of different templates to get you started. So for instance, maybe you are looking for an opportunity and need help in finance or marketing or research or whatever. You can click on this particular category of interest to you and click on that template, which will make it real easy for you to get up and rolling. Picking your student and the work getting done, again, that is also where we have a client success team helping to support you in each of these different steps. Now, with the micro-internships themselves, again, you can start with a template, or you can create a project from scratch. And when you're posting that opportunity, you set the parameters. What do you need to have done? What's your timeline? What's your budget? Who do you want it to go to? That bottom right screenshot, for instance. This is your opportunity to say, I only want students from X school to see that project. Maybe the school that invited you to today's webinar is one that you only want to recruit at. Okay, great, no problem. Or maybe you have more of a regional focus. You want to include institutions around and around your local area, or maybe your organization is moving or growing to a new area and you want to focus on them. Great. Or better yet, you never know who you might be missing. So leave it open to every student at every school, and you can always filter based on the schools of the students who applied to that project. Now, once you've posted that micro-internship, you'll receive daily emails with a list of the students who applied that day, and you can go back and choose them at any time. But you'll only see students who've applied. And so you don't have to guess if a student's interested, they're available for your project. You'll know because they applied to that micro-internship. And you'll also be able to see their resume, their LinkedIn profile. If they provided that, they'll see your profile. But most importantly, you'll be able to see how they answered at least one, if not more, short answer application questions. Think of those application questions as eliminating your need to have a phone screen. We want to keep this simple and quick for you. So that first question that every student answers is, why should we select you for this project? The student has to answer that. And then you can add additional project-specific questions, which again, things that you would want to have them answer anyway if you were to talk to them on the phone. But now you've just saved yourself 10, 15, 30 minutes not having to do a phone screen. Now, if you want to reach out to a student and do an interview, feel free, but you don't have to. You have that choice. And so once you see those students, you can pick however many students you want to work with, and the work gets done, meaning we recommend having a kickoff conversation with that student. So with the student supervisor, you can go over the different details of the project. When are you going to meet? How often? How do you want the student to stay in touch with you? We recommend, and we'll give you a checklist of things to talk about, but different details about how you're effectively going to work together, a little background that they might need to know about the project, what kind of a deliverable you really want them to do. Do you want a written report? Do you want an Excel spreadsheet? Do you want it in PowerPoint? Whatever it might be. And then the student from there largely works very autonomously, where you can check in with them, touch base every so often, or however you decide you want to do. But typically this is very hands-off for you and the student. The student works on the project, checking in whatever instructions you gave them, and then meeting that final deadline. And we see that the students don't typically need a whole lot of hand-holding. They're excited to put to work what they're already learning in the classroom. And we know that this is effective because we have over 98% of the projects are completed successfully. When the project is completed, just mark it as completed in the Parker Dewey platform, and then a survey will populate where you can give the student feedback. We definitely want that feedback. That's valuable not only to the students so that they can learn from their experience and their professional growth, but it also is data that's super helpful for both the academic institution that the student is attending, as well as those grant-funded programs as part of Gigs for Good, should you choose to participate in that free project option. And again, all of this data is really valuable if you work in human resources, because you can really discern at scale, for organizations who are doing this at scale, a lot of really important key and critical metrics. So how does this help you? Well, it's a lot of different reasons. We see a lot of different scenarios, but at the core, this is allowing you to build your pipeline. This is helping you identify who are the students that are going to be the next great fits for whatever those open roles might be. But you can also see their skills firsthand. Rather than just relying on a resume or an interview, which we've all experienced, students don't always look that great on paper, but might be amazing in person, or vice versa. This is a really great way to discern who truly is a good fit based on their skills. But it's also very low lift for you. That ad hoc project can get off of your to-do list, but more importantly, you're building a relationship with a student who's going to help you and potentially help you long-term by being a good hire if you have that open role. And again, you get those recruiting insights if you do work in human resources. That's really critical about, and might help inform some of your longer-term recruiting strategies. So just to kind of conclude our conversation today, I want to give you a few case studies of organizations who have implemented micro-internships at scale. Now, each of these 3 examples are focused on a large-scale initiative where they're hiring multiple students and oftentimes at multiple institutions. We call those micro-internship programs. And every company, as you're about to see, has a bit of a different approach, but it starts with defining your goals. So what is it? And we'll have a conversation with you. What is it that you are trying to accomplish with this early career recruiting? Why are you even interested in a micro-internship? Once we understand those goals, we'll help you identify a strategy and the types of projects that can help you identify and reach the talent that you're trying to reach. For example, one company that my colleague just spoke to was really interested in engaging student athletes. They know the value that athletics can bring to an organization, all those amazing core skills, but student athletes are kind of hard to reach in a traditional recruiting type of situation because they oftentimes can't do internships, may not be able to come to the career fair and so on because they're training for their sport. But micro-internships are a great strategy to reach and engage those students year-round. Similarly, we have a lot of schools, or companies that are focused on deepening relationships with partner institutions, but maybe outside of the business school or the engineering school. They're wanting to reach those liberal arts students. And again, this is a really great way to brand build. So to give you a couple of specific examples, first of all, Smith & Nephew, a medical device company, was trying to solve the challenge of filling some additional business development roles for their sales rotational development training program. And this was kind of around this time last year or the year before, excuse me, and they were still, again, had open roles to fill. They had already gone to the career fairs, and this was a bit of a kind of last-minute contingency plan. And so they posted the micro-internship, and the project was this. Here's one of our products, do research on it, develop a sales pitch, and deliver it via Zoom. Now, this was a very quick, easy project, about 10 hours of work for the student to do. And the students, they picked multiple students from multiple institutions. They kept it open. And the project description specifically said, do not apply unless you're interested in a full-time role on our, and they named the project there, as the name of the role, located in Memphis, Tennessee. So it was very defined for the student to know what it is they were trying to recruit for. And so they hired 12 students to do this project, ended up leading to 5 full-time hires. So the cost per hire for those 5 students, again, reduction of over 70%. And one thing to keep in mind about the money that's being spent is that most of it's going directly into the pockets of the students. And so those of you who are thinking about how do I grow my employer brand, well, think what a positive signal that is to a student to know that you're paying them to do these projects and get excited about their company and also give them that resumeable experience and working together. And that's just a really positive signal for those students. Another example is a company, Train Technologies, a manufacturing firm that was trying to build its brand on campus at some of its target schools. And so they decided to hire campus ambassadors as micro-interns. That gave them the flexibility to be able to identify students from different institutions and pick students based on their availability and also change if the students couldn't do it that semester. And again, they didn't have to deal with any of that HR or administrative headache. And so they really were able to deepen their relationships with these target schools by having these students who knew the classes, the student organizations, and all of that to target for their strategies. And finally, Xylem, a water technology company, billion-dollar global company that I had never heard of and had same with most students. So their goal was to try to, again, build their brand, but particularly focusing on students early in their academic journey. And so they ended up building a program that started with first and second year students, but then ultimately engaged hiring managers across their organization. This ended up becoming an HR benefit for their company where hiring managers from all these different departments could engage students. The only ask after doing the project was to let HR know if these candidates or these students were great so that they could add them to that talent pipeline. And so this allowed them to expand significantly beyond their target schools. And they engaged over 3,000 students across 800 different schools and really served as a great feeder for some of their other early career recruiting programs. Now, programs like this are not designed to be a heavy lift. Programs like those can be turned on within a week. And most micro-internships are filled within 48 hours. So as we're having these conversations, mid-April or so, this is something that still can help for this year's recruiting if that is your ultimate goal, or certainly can help as you build your strategy for the next academic year. So going back to the first question that I asked, just to give you a few other case studies, I'm not going to talk about them for today's conversation, but the most popular answer in my poll here was that many of you are really trying to just build awareness about your company. And so again, here are a couple of actionable ideas. So for instance, are you going to a career fair in the next couple of weeks? Micro-internships can be something that you can engage and recruit at a career fair. For that first or second year student who may not be ready for your internship program, offer a micro-internship, one that's aligned to that open role that you're recruiting for that junior or senior, but it could be a great project for that first or second year student to be able to keep them excited about your organization. That's also a really great differentiator for your company at that career fair because it gives you something that you can offer to any student that you're talking to. So just one idea, and again, we're certainly able and happy to help scope out what projects might be a good fit for that particular example. So again, there's a lot of examples and additional case studies, so certainly feel free when you get the slides to dig into whatever might be helpful. But just to wrap up, a couple of specific action steps. If you are interested in posting a micro-internship, want to see that project library on your own, I just put the link to that in the chat. Feel free to do so at your leisure. And then I also want to put that link for that free trial back in the chat as well, if that would be helpful to you. And of course, if you want to meet with a member of our team, that link is also in the chat. So I'll make sure that you have access to all three options real time. But I really appreciate your time today, and happy to stick around a few extra minutes or so if you have any questions that you would like to ask live. But I really thank you so much for your interest. And if you again have questions, please don't be a stranger. But I'm going to go ahead and